So, you know, it's one of those. Anyway, let's get into the draft here for game number 1 of the day. SRING versus LGD. We already talked about the Camille ban coming out from LGD. It's a very common ban going up towards Bin. Interested to see the Zoe banned away from Uniboy as well. Bit of respect towards the mid lane. But look at these top lane bans with Renekton and Gnar taken off the board. The Pantheon that we talked about. And finally, Xayah.
Yeah, this is where LGD are in their comfort zone. As we said, you know, the opportunity to counter pick that top lane on red side, but they're getting rid of some of the more nuisance picks, the ones that are kind of blind pickable, like the Camille, the Renekton, these ones that just do relatively fine in that top lane. Looks like though, with Xayah taken off the board, we're looking at those other premier AD carries. I don't like taking Samira first rotation. I think you end up giving too much information across and teams can start to cater their composition towards it. But instead, Sofm is going back towards the Udyr, which is insane to me when you've still got the likes of the Olaf open. You have a lot of these picks that do what Olaf or with Udyr does, but just kind of slightly better.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Dagda, I hate the Udyr pick. It's been so bad so many times. It's on a 30% win rate right now. Maybe SRFM can show me why this is such a heavily prioritized pick right now. It's answered with that Olaf that you've just been talking about. I thought that they were going to lock in double jungle then. I was real scared for a second. It's going to be Gragas. You assume that goes to Cult.
Yeah, I mean, well, it could go towards Cult. It could also be a flex in towards Peace. We have seen both the Gragas support still there as well. And I want to just keep that open because, as we said, Cult tends to like these counter picks. The other option, though, for LGD is to just go, hey, we're going to pop Gragas top, have a totally fine top lane, keep it weak, and play down towards this bottom side of the map, trying to play towards their weaknesses, which have been Kramer and Peace on this bottom side. However, Bin has opted in towards that Aatrox real darn quick, and this is a matchup that does reasonably okay for the Aatrox, but Gragas can look to just try and survive and sustain through it, if we are seeing that Gragas versus the Aatrox in the top lane.
Yeah, could see something like a Twisted Fate maybe in the mid lane as a final rotation here from LGD. That's been one of the more popular mid laners with the Zoe band, but also Udyr has been climbing in popularity. So definitely a few options available. It is going to be the Syndra. The reason I didn't mention Syndra is you can see that win rate there, 32%.
Yeah.
It's been picked a lot. It's not been doing so hot.
Yeah, and it's mostly been into picks like the Orianna that are like, hey, look, we're just going to match this farming style and I'll have a more impactful team fight later on when I get towards those 2 to 3 items. However, when I look at the rest of this draft now, LGD looking to ban away those AD carries, because when you look at neither side having those AD carries, you get first pick for LGD, you can take that Xayah for yourself, you've set up a pretty strong front to back team fight right now, so why not just opt in towards having this Xayah that can follow up so well with the likes of this Syndra in these team fights.
We could end up with a bit of a spicy draft though here, Dagda, because there's 2 AD carry bans coming through already. There's a Samira ban. If something like the Xayah's banned as well, we end up basically going back to preseason where like Jhin and MF are the primary AD carry choices.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see kind of what the call here is. I feel like if you end up with this Jhin versus MF can do really well into that composition, and it kind of pigeonholes you to a certain extent as well. Specifically for LGD, if you are going to go for the Jhin here, you can still go for the Xayah, as we talked about, but if you go for Jhin, very much opting in towards this long range, more pick orientated composition, or you can go for the Xayah and go more towards these team fight styles. So looks like with the Xayah over there, we are going to get Kramer onto the Xayah, and it fits Kramer a little bit better, a champion that he can farm up and have these big impacts in the team fights. So for Suning, I imagine you fall back here towards either the MF or that Jhin that we were talking about, but I think personally the MF would do a lot more for them. Just having those slows that can enable the likes of these Aatroxes and the Udyrs to get into team fights and providing that big ultimate. I forgot Senna existed.
Yeah, we forgot about Senna. Senna's insane right now. How do we forget about Senna? Forget Misfortune, forget Jhin. It's a clear, obvious Senna lock in here. We're expecting Kraken Slayer Rageblade. Like, this is completely done.
Look, it's still early in the morning here. My coffee hasn't kicked in fully, all right? So give us a little bit of a break. But yeah, I mean, look, this is perfect now. I mean, I love this. You offer a little bit of CC. You can offer some healing as well towards that front line. It works super well in setting up dives on this top side of the map with the Udyr and the Aatrox as well by having that ultimate. And you've got the Seraphine paired with it as well. This is such a potent bot lane. And now you're actually in trouble as LGD on this bottom side of the map because Xayah isn't the longest range AD carry. It looks like she will be paired with the the Gragas on this bottom side as well, but a lot of poke here that's going to come through on the Suning side that you just don't really deal with for the LGD bot lane.
Ooh, Colt locks in the Fiora. We said these top laners want to go ham. They want to dominate this lane phase, and Fiora can definitely do that against Aatrox, but it also means that Gragas was the flex pick we talked about, goes down towards Peace as the support pickup. Against that Seraphine, who doesn't have any mobility spells, Gragas could certainly find picks.
He definitely can if you get the attention from Koi, but the amount of poke and healing and shielding and everything that comes in from this bottom lane, it's really difficult to try and whittle them down and actually deal with. So as long as Huangfeng and On are playing safe, I actually give them the advantage in this lane. And certainly when we look towards team fights, like the biggest issues that we've had with the likes of Aatrox's and Udyrs is they don't really get in. They're struggling to set up team fights because they just got to run you down. Well, you've got a Seraphine now that just uses them as this extender tool for her ultimate to set up perfectly for these team fights. So I love the Seraphine lock in here. It just covers a lot of the weaknesses that I was seeing with the composition from Sue.
We'll see how these compositions are going to pan out. I'm not going to lie, Dagda, my mind drifted a little bit there while you were talking, and I realized that you can combine the bot laners' names from Suning to create Huangfeng, which I think is a hilarious name. But then on the other side, I then combined the names between Kramer and Peace, and I got Crease, which is a little bit less of a less of an appealing name. But there you go. That's the couple names for the bot lanes. That's my incredibly valuable input into this conversation. Certainly looking towards the top lane as we sub. Say that again, sorry.
At least it's better than Krantz, Chance and Kramer.
That's true. Krantz ain't that good, but Kreese ain't much better. We jump onto the map. Let's reset the stakes of why we're here, what's going on today. Suning in the middle of the table right now. If they can get themselves a win here, they'll be even on their win-loss. They'll be able to move towards the actual center instead of being sort of low middle as they are right now. LGD, on the other hand, they're yet to get a win. They could really do with something, and this is a Suning squad in their current weakened state. So maybe this could be the opportunity for LGD to finally start getting themselves something on the board.
And I think in this game as well, we're going to see a lot of pressure up towards this top side to try and get that first win for LGD. Like, your win condition for this game is pretty much this Fiora, where you want to get her up and running, get her split pushing, try and be a menace in these side lanes. And yeah, you've got like a strong wave clear and you've got a strong 4 unit that can work together on the LGD side, but certainly expect Koi to start on this bottom side and path up to this top lane, potentially even try and split the map on his second rotation just to make sure that you've got as much resources given towards Colt to abuse the favorable matchup that he has.
Yeah, and you expect that from both Koi and Sofm. As you can see, they've started on the bottom side. Importantly, neither of the bottom lanes leashing for their junglers here, so the information will be on the side of Suning because they've got a ward deep on that red buff, so they've got a slight informational advance.
You say that, but actually Colt did a really smart thing there of walking in, checking that blue buff just before he went to lane, so they know that you're not starting on that top side. So LGD actually have just as much information as Suning, and it's going to be a case of how do you play around it. Now, both junglers, they'll be able to clear pretty even Steven. Both Udyr and Olaf have some insane clear speed, so when we get towards this top side, they actually could match, and I think it's going to be a little bit more about Uniboy being able to push in this mid lane, having that priority, and being able to play towards Olaf, towards the Fiora, and trying to secure that early scuttle for Koi.
We could well have a little bit of a scuffle, if you will, in that top river in a couple of minutes' time once the junglers have finished clearing themselves up. You do expect Angel to be one of those mid laners, though, that's a little bit slow to start, not necessarily the best at finding these early skirmishes and finding advantages off of those. It's usually the guy that's playing things like the Azir and the Kassadin that wants to scale up towards the later stages of the game. So I'm curious whether or not we're going to see Suning participate or whether they opt out of those kind of skirmishes.
Yeah, I think for the early stages, Suning are going to be trying to kind of back off a little bit. You can, as SOFM, play down around this bottom side with a lot of poke. They will have the advantage in lane parties. You can see right now the amount of poke that's going on to Kramer and Peace is so difficult to deal with. At least as Peace you can sustain a little bit, but as Kramer, that damage is going to stick, so expect Suning to try and play around that with SOFM. But you can see mid here, this is what we're talking about. Uniboy is wrong.
this is really greedy from Sofm. Doesn't get the smite. Instead, he just runs at Uniboy. And now Angel's hit, but he doesn't have any mana, so Sofm's actually in trouble here. Ghost has been used, and he's gone. He's out of there. Sofm, he's just sprinting across the map.
Yeah, and he will get down towards this second scuttle as well, so won't be fully denied off of them, but very greedy from Sofm trying to go for that. We just said, like, Uniboy will have push. He's the one that can have control, and they do manage to push him off that top side scuttle. However, bot lane is... I thought I was seeing On go very aggressive. I thought we were going to get a little bit more off of that play.
Look, whatever I said about Udyr's win rate, you can't deny that he's at least entertaining to watch when it comes down to just shenanigans, you know? Him just running around in these fights. He'll zip into the fight, get us done, zip out again at 100 miles an hour. It is hilarious to watch.
Yeah, and as well, like, you'll be able to zip over towards these dragons, especially when you're looking at Huangfeng and On, who are so aggressive in this bottom lane. Look at Kramer's health, like, he can just go get his reset, go straight down off the reset in towards these dragons, and then it looks like with this clear, the camps would be a little bit late in spawning, but should be okay.
Oh, good flash from Peace, though. Huangfeng has to respond with his flash and his heal. Root comes down, so Huangfeng will get a couple of free hits, and hilariously, that's almost a one trade for Suning when you look at the 3 summoners that we used from LGD, and then you calculate the damage as well. Huangfeng kind of won.
The big thing is, though, it sets up a repeat gank for Quay. If he can actually get down here, get the gank off again, especially when you're looking at that level 6 that's going to be creeping in for Peace relatively soon that we talked about, that's where you can try and find these advantages. However, Sofm is doing a really good job here, getting in towards this top side, making sure that he's able to steal away these camps and punish Quay for going for that bot lane play.
Yeah, Sofm going to be able to grab the Crooks for himself here as Cult is going to wander by, but Sofm positioning this correctly so that no vision will be garnered by Cult. Technically, they don't know that this has happened. It's a fairly safe assumption that it's happened, as Angel's in a bit of trouble, but dodges away from the undertow very nicely with the phase rush, and he'll be A-okay. So, Dragon is up on the map. As you mentioned before, Dagda, Sofm, he loved to focus this, but so would Quay.
And I think that's a big win for Suning if the attention of LGD is on this bottom side. By clearing out the top side for Quay, you know that Olaf is on the bottom side, so Colt has to play this a little bit more carefully. Can't go aggressive as he'd like to in this lane, although has already got a nice CS lead for himself. Suning, though, reading where LGD are going to go, they're the ones that are aggressing now towards this dragon.
Yeah, as you rightly said, there's no camps on the top side for Quay, so he kind of has to be on this bottom side of the map, which means he's doing Dragon. Suning had a ward there as well, so they just sprint on over, as Udyr likes to, and now it's a smite fight between Sofm and Quay. Let's see who gets it. It is going to be Quay. Sofm backs away in the end. I think his smite was just on cooldown. Now Shockwave across the team as well. One kill onto Quay. It's traded onto Sofm as Uniboy just going to flash away, but On shuts down the kill. Peace as well, low on HP, and Bin is slamming down as he tries to end the world here. Jumps over the wall, but Umbral Chains won't quite find the pullback. Blast Cone saves the day for LGD.
However, the dragon does go the way of Quay, and you do get some of the kills going over in favor of Suning. So all said and done, the gold advantage will be in favor of Suning, but at least you do get that Ocean Drake as a bit of a consolation prize for LGD. When those kills are going up towards Bin as well, getting him a bit more resources, making sure that this Aatrox isn't just going to be completely out of the game, I'd say LGD or Suning even are going to be pretty happy with that. We're going to see it here in the replay, like very close call, and Quay just about managing to get the flash, smite even down to set that up, but look at the positioning here from Huangfeng. Like, he's able to save the Udyr, forcing Uniboy to go for the flash, which means now Uniboy with no mana is completely out of the fight, and Huangfeng is just positioned so well in this backline the whole fight. He's getting those piercing lights onto several members of Suning, making sure that they're all nicely topped up, and luckily Colt is able to hop over that wall to safety with Kramer.
Yeah, I mean, Teamfight Fiora is a meme as old as League of Legends, honestly. It's never going to be that impressive. I'm kind of surprised that Sofm ran into the pit like that to try and contest the smite when he didn't have smite. Clearly just like bluffing, saying, hey, oh I'm going to smite it off you, trying to buy time until it came up. It almost came up before the dragon went down, but Quay obviously able to get it in the end. And Olaf is very good at smiting these objectives regardless. So nicely done by Quay to at least get the dragon. In terms of the gold, though, it's still fairly even. As you say, SRING did get a small advantage for themselves, but in the grand scheme of things, they're going to be fine. The big advantage on the map right now is that top lane. We talked about it briefly earlier. Fiora into Aatrox. This lane sucks for Aatrox. This is like almost unwinnable.
Yeah, and it's going to just keep going this way. It's not going to get any better for Bin at any point in time. But I'd love to see LGD turn that advantage in towards this Rift Herald. Because when I look at that bottom lane, I've got the Seraphine and the Senna. They're not great at leaving lane, especially when you look at the position that the lane is in right now. Because they're being shoved under their tower, they can't just like leave that bot side to help top, because you always have that pressure of being dove by Kramer, by Peace. So they need to shove that wave out, which delays a lot of time before SRING's bot lane can interact with the top side of the map.
Okay, that's not a good example of how those trace events are going. Here we go. Quay stunned up by Sofm, who is just railing on the Viking. What is that? In goes Bin to finish the kill. And Quay is just spamming question mark pings on this Olaf, on this Udyr right now, wondering what on earth just happened to his health bar.
That was so much damage. And a tank Udyr to beat as well, but Udyr very, very strong. Yeah. If he can get on top of you, that's the big question for Udyr, is always if he can actually run you down. But if he's able to get on top of you just like that, you can see the advantage that he picks up, and this will net SRING this early Rift Herald. And again, this is SRING starting to grow that gold lead. They're getting the kills on towards this top side, resetting Bin, getting him relevant in this game. And now they can use the fact that you've got this Rift Herald to crack open any of these turrets as well. I imagine they will try and use it towards Bin in the top lane. Again, the SRING early game plan very heavily revolves around Bin at least having an advantage and getting out of lane. So I think we will see Sofm trying to use that advantage as Bin chips away at this turret.
Yeah, Bin will find himself a bit of an opportunity here with that pickaxe to do some damage. The fact that Bin is ahead in this lane is pretty unfortunate for Colt, because Colt hasn't died yet. his jungler is coming up and griefing him a little bit. As Sofm is going to move towards the bottom side of the map. Next straight coming up in 50 seconds, Dagda. And obviously Quay was able to smite the last one. Sofm has smite available this time, but I think he's going to be a little bit more ready.
Yeah, I think LGD might be in a better spot this time around, because there's no TPs that'll be available on LG or on SRING's side. You don't really want Cult to be involved in these dragon fights. You want the to have that 4-man unit use it, but Sofm, Jesus.
Scatter Weak will not stop him. He just runs in. What can you do against the bear, man? He just sprints you down. He's not afraid of your CC. He's not afraid of your damage.
Yeah, and that's why we saw Ender talk about it over in LEC. He's a much bigger fan of Ghost on the Udyr, because with that chem tank and with Ghost, you will chase down anybody. He just runs into lane, ignores the knockback, is like, you know what, this slowed me for maybe 0.25 of a second, and is still able to kill Uniboy. But now for SRING, we were just about to say, hey, LGD's 4-man squad is pretty strong. They have the potential to maybe fight against SRING, but when you've got Uniboy who just gets picked off, SRING should have been able to turn this into a dragon, but Sofm is backed away. And SRING may not be quite in the position. Now, the big thing here is Kraken Slayer completed for Huangfeng. So he's going to be pumping out a heap of damage. Auto Q auto from this Senna will automatically stack that Kraken Slayer.
So LGD now having this priority in the mid lane. You can see Sofm recalled, which means LGD have an opportunity to just go for this Drake here. They don't have their AD carry. Kramer is just on the way. You can see him at the very top right of your screen. On and Huangfeng are well aware that this is going on, but can they actually contest? 2,000 on the health bar. Quay just wants to burn this one down, get the smite, but there's the charm onto the team here. SRING want the team fight rather than the Drake. But there's a Viking there. Kramer's jumped over the wall. On is forced out of the fight and taken down with one more auto. The blast comes out from the railgun though. Double kill for Angel in the meantime. And Kramer, oh no. You've got a little bit deep for this one, haven't you? He's suddenly realized that he's in the wrong place, but maybe it's Huangfeng that's caught. Flashes out away from the knockup. And now there's a TP. Here comes Bin. The fight has been long enough that the top lane of TPs come up once again. Featherstorm can't save you now.
And again, it's another team fight victory for SRING. LGD just have not been able to set themselves up right for any of these fights. Kramer is trying to get the damage down, but it's only onto the support and Colt.
messed up the riposte a little bit. Angel doesn't have any mana, so that was just 1v1. But let's just quickly check the scoreboard here for a second, Tactic. Spin now on 3 kills. Angel as well, after a double kill there. He's 4-1-3. Angel's getting huge. I question whether he'd participate in these early skirmishes. He's more than showed up.
Yeah, and I honestly thought that LGD would be able to play better around the advantages that they had in the mid lane, and certainly around this bottom side as well. I thought when we got 2 skirmishes, the CC that both Kramer and Peace provide would do work, but unfortunately, these skirmishes have not worked out for them at all. And from that early dragon fight, Bin has just been able to pick up a bunch of kills, so he's not falling behind in relation to Colt. You've got Angel, who's absolutely huge. This Kraken Slayer already completed for Huangfeng, and the scaling is on Sunin's side, especially if Huangfeng goes towards this Rageblade build. He just infinitely stacks AD off of his passive. So this means that Huangfeng will be infinitely scaling with his damage in these fights. And there it is, the Rage Knife picked up as well, so we are going to get that Rageblade build.
Let's take another look at the action, because obviously Quay was focused on the Drake while the double charm comes in, and then it's a nice easy shockwave at that point for Angel.
Yeah, but look, at the start of that fight, Kramer was in bot lane. Like, Kramer's not in a position for this dragon, and this is just miscommunication by LGD across the board. And Kramer not moving out of that bot side means it's essentially a 3v4 that actually turns into a 2v4 because Quay is so preoccupied with the dragon.
Sofm running into the lane, and Uniboy, he's been here before. He knows what this feels like. This is 2v3, and Suning are winning it out. Now Bin arrives to finish the final blow there, and suddenly Colt realizes he's alone. Flashes over the wall. Bin actually follows and misses absolutely everything. But you know what? We'll take that fight for Suning. They got themselves a kill. Huangfeng gets another tower.
Colt is going to be so annoyed in this game. Colt has not died in this game, and Bin has 4 kills. There is going to be so much spam in that chat being like, stop feeding my goddamn lane. I have a good matchup. Let me play it. And now instead, you've got Bin, who at the start of this game was 20 CS behind, is now even on CS, has matched the Gore Drinker that's come in for Colt, and you just don't get to do anything. I mean, even the fact that Colt has opted in towards Gore Drinker instead of something like the Triforce, Colt's realized this game has got out of control. I don't have a hope of split pushing. I need to go towards something that's going to be better in these team fights and not just sticking around in these side lanes.
Yeah, he doesn't get the luxury of having a lane to himself anymore. He's got to get in these team fights, but just look, the player gold right now. Huangfeng is on 7,000. Angel is on 7,000. Bin is almost on 7,000. They are all monstrously huge. And, you know, we came into the game, we were talking about which lanes were strong for which team and this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter, because Bin's a monster, Angel's a monster, and right now, Huangfeng's a secret agent.
And it's just going to get worse. So, just touching on Huangfeng, for anyone who doesn't know this Rageblade, I'm not going to get a chance, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be Bin caught out here. He is Aatrox with a Gore Drinker, so maybe he could survive. The healing and the shielding is there. Nearly 1v3s as Quay almost went down there. They'll settle for Krugs, though, as they grab themselves that kill in the meantime. Angel is going to be able to trade Krugs and a kill for a tier 1 tower and actually a charge on a tier 2. Huangfeng is here as well. No way does Suning get 2 towers off of this. Surely not. That is disgusting. Drake's up in 20 seconds, and everyone's just recalled from LGD. Did they get a Drake on top of that as well?
They're going to get a charge onto the turn, baby! Oh. No, Kramer, yeah, they'll be able to recall. They'll spend that gold. Now, honestly, I think LGD should be in a position to maybe take this dragon, but it looks like Suning aren't going to back away. They're just going to hold on to that big old gold that's in their pouch right now and still look to take the dragon. I mean, why not? You're super far ahead already. It doesn't matter that you have maybe 2,000 gold in your back pocket, because you're sitting pretty in this game.
It's not often that you see a player like this where LGD got a pick there. They didn't lose a single person, but off of the back of LGD's pick, Suning got 2 towers and a dragon. That's not how a League of Legends is meant to work. That's the power of tempo right there.
That is so impressive. And again, it's just LGD not really being up to speed on but the fact that the Rift Herald had gone over, just how much pressure the Suning had. But I feel like it is kind of desperation from LGD at this point. They realized, look, we're either going to end up losing the dragon anyway because they can toss that Rift Herald down mid. Maybe we can make a pick which can secure that third dragon. Maybe that gives us a win condition, but honestly, Cloud Soul, not really a win condition for LGD right now. So Suning don't have to worry too much about these dragons, and especially when they're so far ahead, it's not going to mean anything if LGD get it.
Yeah, it's starting to look a little bit doomed for LGD, I'm not going to lie. They are only 4,000 down. It's not over just yet. They got the 2 Drakes. But in terms of the way these fights have been going, we need to see Kramer pop up. And, you know, we talked about earlier how Kramer hadn't really been as big of a player as we wanted him to be in his first series. He's only played 1 series with LGD, though, so far. So this game, he individually is looking all right. There was the one missed position around the dragon fight, but if we just look at the scoreboard and ignore all context, then he looks pretty good right now.
Exactly, results-based analysis. But the problem is he's up against Huangfeng on this Senna on the opposite side. And because he's going... Oh, hang on. Every time I wanted to explain this Rage Blade, someone gets caught out.
It does a bunch of damage.
No? Yes, basically
the
way the Rage Blade works is because it changes your critical strike chance, it just gives you straight AD instead. Senna's passive, every 20 souls, you increase the amount of critical strike chance you have, and when you get to 100%, that changes into lifesteal. But because you change your critical strike chance away from and just automatically convert into AD, you're able to just consistently keep stacking all this extra critical strike chance, which in return the Rage Blade turns into AD. So you're just astronomically increasing the amount of AD that you have, which is why we're seeing Senna just blowing up people with this build. It is insane how much damage this Senna can do. And alongside it, you got the Rapid Fire and the Kraken Slayer, so you're popping people from so far away. An auto hits the Kraken Slayer, and you're essentially doing 3/4 of a Squishy's health, if not all of a Squishy's health, off of just one combo.
And a really important, quite a nice little tech that we're seeing from Huangfeng is he's going for the Rage Knife, which is like Rage Blade for kids TM, and then he's gone straight into the Rapid Fire Cannon. So he gets all of the attack speed and the extra range from the Rapid Fire Cannon, but he also gets that all-important AD passive from the Rage Blade. Sofm has walked in, but he's Udyr, so he's fine as Ragnarok charges on towards on, but there just isn't any damage there. The Charm, just in case Uniboy tried to push too far forwards. And quite suddenly realizing that maybe this Udyr is a good pick. Maybe the 30% isn't an indicative statistic.
Yeah, I mean, if you play it right, it can be good. I mean, the biggest issue that we talked about it the last time we saw Udyr was he's just not being played correctly, but Angel, that was close.
Angel with a nice Sonya's there, flashes away from the follow-up from Uniboy here. Colt has teleported in, Shockwave onto Peace, there's a railgun to boot as well, and Peace is just kicked out of the fray. But this is not as peaceful as he would like right now, because Suning, they're waging war with the Baron down to 1,000. They're going to be able to smite this one away. Remember, Quay died before the fight began. Now Suning, they want LGD as well. I don't know why LGD stuck around for this one. Bin is happy to be the front line, happy to tank them up as Colt has to try and dash away from the fray. Sofm wants the flank. He wants to find the stun, but I think LGD have backed away correctly.
Yeah, they end up getting away from that, but at the end of the day, you still get the Baron going over towards Suning. They're still stacking and racking this gold. And when you've got the Dragon in 30 seconds, they can run over towards it, just add another one to their belt. But ultimately what they're looking to do now is start to spread out. Have bin pressure on these side lanes, group up as a 4-man unit, and have SOFM kind of play a near dive potential with the Udyr to just start taking down these side lane structures.
Yeah, I mean... There is no near dive at this point. Yeah. We saw SOFM comfortably dive at like level 4. Now he's level 13. I don't think he's afraid of towers anymore because he's got a good amount of armor in that inventory as well. And I mean, Suning, this is just their map. They can do whatever they want. They can take the Drake if they fancy it, but it's only a Cloud Drake. They've only got one of them so far. It doesn't really matter to them. They want some towers with this Baron book.
Yeah, Colt though is pushing in pretty heavily on this top side, so at least for the moment, LGD do have an advantage in that they can try and operate this 1v1 against Colt and Bin, but they're losing their inhibitor Terra 4 and they cannot push these guys off. There's so much healing from Huangfeng.
And also the range from Huangfeng. Remember that Senna's range scales with those souls as well. So Huangfeng just gets scarier and scarier. Senna is amazing in his siege. As you said, the sustain she gets from the Q, but also the range and damage she can do to the towers. It is honestly one of the perfect siege champions. And down the tower goes with the Baron buff. They're easily able to clear that one through. Looking for the inhib now as they show no signs of backing away just yet. Peace is trying to find an engage here. Sofm just threatening Uniboy, just stepping forward, standing in bear stance. It's like how you have to deal with a bear, right? When the bear's coming at you, you got to look big and scary and bash it on the nose. And if it's a black bear, it'll run away. If it's a grizzly bear, it'll maul you, just like Sofm is to LGD.
They got the wrong bear. They just didn't read the pamphlet correctly. And
they should have played dead.
Yeah, well, they kind of did there. I mean, Cult stayed in that bottom lane. He wasn't coming across. They tried to look fearsome, but also kind of play dead because they didn't really want to fight. And Cult now will spot Sofm on this dragon.
Angry dead. Pretty sure that's a film.
But yeah, this is domination from Suning, and honestly, this is what I wanted to see from Suning. Like we said already in their series against OMG, they needed to build that confidence. They needed to do the same here against LGD because their upcoming games are against EDG, JDG, and IG. And sure, JDG are looking like a very much a weakened version of themselves, but with the Suning that we saw at the start of the split, they need to have themselves on point if they want to be able to go up against those three teams. So the fact that we're seeing Sofm having much more impact in the early stages of the game, actually getting into these lanes, you saw those early ganks towards the mid lane, that's exactly what I wanted out of Suning, because their early game stats have been abysmal. Like Sofm has some of the lowest kill participation of any jungler, actually has the lowest, kill participation of any jungler. Their gold difference of 15, they're like down 390 gold. Their overall objective control is some of the worst in the league, but over the last two series, we've seen them kind of wake up and start to go, hang on a second, we can play this early game through Sofm. We can get these big objectives for ourselves, and we can look clean like against teams like LGD.
Yeah, that is true. They are playing against the worst teams in the league. Sofm's been caught here, and Kramer will grab himself a kill. I don't want to overhype Suning too much. As the unofficial Suning hype man, I do want to temper myself because they got the win that they looked so strong it was against against OMG, who are currently in 17th place. Now they're currently playing against LGD, who are in 15th place. It's not, you know. I want to wait and see if they can get a win against a more significant team before I'm willing to jump on the hype train. But I definitely agree with what you're saying.
I'm not saying I'm on the hype train.
They are bringing a strategy to the game. They are winning.
Yeah, I mean, with the last games we saw from them at the start of the split, they were literally doing nothing. Like, Sofm was not interacting with the lanes. He was just farming. And although, obviously, this is a lower place team, the fact that Sofm is playing aggressive on this Udyr, they are starting to get some of these objectives, although, honestly, a little bit late into the game, but still, at least there are some positive signs, rather than, you know, Suning kind of just doing nothing and hoping that Bin doesn't get camped in the top lane and they can hit the mid game in their stride.
And hey, on the other side of the board as well, we said we wanted to see something from Kramer. He is 4-1-0, and, you know, he did overextend for the kill during the dragon fight that one time, but aside from that, he's actually played well. Obviously, Xayah loves these kind of comps that want to run into you. As Cult wants to run out of the situation, but I don't think Bin is going to let it. The flash from Bin dodged away by Cult. Nice little dash there as the emotes start to come out. I think Cult's out from this one, though. Here's Fiora at the end of the day, so many dashes. But here comes Sofm. You think you're fast, Cult? Take a look at the bear, man. Here comes Sofm trying to chase them down. But there's a Ragnarok as well. Sofm actually can't get them. Shockwave goes on through. Angel's gone too deep for this one. Maybe LGD can actually win this fight. Charm across the team, though, and Bin is here to prove that I'm a liar. In they go, down the health bars fall, and LGD, they just don't have the gold. They don't have the items to be able to contest with the World Ender himself. Bin wants a little bit more as he runs for peace. Nobody can survive the onslaught, says Bin. And peace just about gets onto the fountain, as Suning will end this game.
Yeah, very convincing win from Suning, and you kind of saw it from that very first dragon fight. Suning took control, and they didn't let go.
I feel like playing Senna